Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. You know this nerd?
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today we're going to be talking and discussing the Scaly Scholar, the true lizard wizard.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
You know, Ted, we haven't done an unorthodox build in quite some time.
That is true. It's always fun to come up with, character concepts that are not, bonus to their prime stat. It's fun to make these cool RP characters.
Yeah, they may not be optimal, maybe a little suboptimal, but a lot of times they're a lot of fun to play, and we enjoy doing these builds. Now, we've done a lizard wizard in the past, but using the dragonborn, but we didn't have a real lizard back then to work with.
So now that we've got the Lizardfolk, thanks to Volo's guide, why don't we use that?
Absolutely. I still want to call them lizard men. And I still love like the original art from AD&D where they had more of the squared snouts. Mm-hmm. But yes, Lizardfolk, they've changed a bit. They're a lot more colorful. And we're going to build a wizard, right?
That's absolutely right. I mean, there's some other options to talk about. Off air we discussed, let's make this cool character. So you kind of came up with a concept of let's make this thing like a witch doctor.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that he's like spooky and creepy, and even like the rest of the tribe doesn't really want to have anything to do with him because, he's off doing his own thing and he's calling spirits and talking to spirits and that kind of thing. So I thought that would be fun. So we could go wizard, but there were some other areas that would work probably equally as well.
So if we look at Sorcerer, again, also not a truly optimized build for a Lizardfolk, but if we went with the Shadow Sorcerer, that could get the creep factor that you're looking for. So that's one vein to look at.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Shadow Magic origin for the Sorcerer would be kind of fun, and like maybe this guy is always in the shadows and talking to the darkness, and he hears voices.
But sticking with charisma as a theme, you could also take this Warlock. Warlocks are always, well, not always, but Warlocks easily can go with the creep factor. Their class is built so much differently than the other spellcasting classes, and you can get a lot of fun mixed into that Lizardfolk.
Well, I do like the Warlock, the Undying Pact for these ones, but as your patron, because I'm thinking like maybe he talks to the ancestors, or maybe there's some like Mumra type character in the background that's his patron. It could be a lot of fun.
But if we were to look at Wizard, we'd have to figure out what kind of school would we be focusing on. There's a handful of different things that can go creepy, but where would we start?
All right. Well, me and you, we actually had a different point of view on this one, two different takes. And this one, for me, might surprise you guys if you've been following along with the channel. But when I think of a witch doctor, I think of someone that's almost like draped in bone armor, and like when he walks, he rattles, and he's got like the crazy masks maybe, and maybe even like maracas or something going on. So I kind of think necromancer.
Well, with all of the necromancy videos that we've been doing recently, to go with necromancy, or to do another video on necromancy again, I think it might be pushing the boundaries. I have no problems tapping into, number one, those visuals, because you don't have to be a necromancer to wear any of that stuff. And you can use necromantic magic.
Oh no, Ted! I so think the Necromancer Union shows up and their business agent is like, "Do you got a card? You got to take this off."
I gotta put my foot down and say no. There is no Necromancers Union. There is no one saying you can't wear bones unless you are a follower of the necromantic school. So I look at conjuration. You've got the ability to call on lots of different things. If you want to go and be that witch doctor, to me there's a little bit of summoner in that, and conjuration is the way to go to get that stuff.
All right, so here's my compromise. If you want to be fucking evil, necromancer. Otherwise, go to conjuration.
Yeah, because your first couple of abilities doesn't really matter, but once you get to 6th level and you start casting that animate dead spell, as you've seen in all of our other necromancer videos, you don't use animate dead unless you're evil. But we're not getting into that argument today.
So this is a friendly lizard wizard. He's helping the tribe. They may or may not be trying to conquer things, but he's there for spiritual guidance, not to raise the dead.
Right. So we've got this conjurer, and maybe not of cheap tricks, and he's out there as a lizard folk. What else do we have to do with this guy?
All right, he's going to need a background and stats, but before we even get to that, let's look at like what do we get out of being lizard folk compared to playing a more optimal race. I mean, obviously, we'd probably be better off being a druid or something else, but we didn't want to go that route. Right. And I also, like, we didn't mention, but I would like to point out too, I was inspired when we did the Kobold Press Deep Magic series and we looked at rune magic. I like the idea of instead of having a spell book, he's a pouch of bones. And he etches his spells on those bones. And when he studies his spell book, right?
He casts them.
He casts the bones, and that's how he learns and memorizes his spells and prepares them for the day.
I definitely dig that. If we remember, maybe in the description below, you can get a link to that rune magic on Drive-Thru-RPG. But so let's look at Lizardfolk and why this would make a pretty cool wizard. So first and foremost, Lizardfolk are going to get a +2 to Constitution. Throughout all of the editions of D&D, wizards have always had the lowest hit die, the lowest amount of hit points, and getting that bump to con is going to make you as a wizard survive that much longer. Not only are you going to have the more hit points, but that's going to be an extra bump on your concentration checks.
Yeah, so that's going to be useful. They also get natural armor, which means as a wizard, you're never going to have to worry about casting mage armor because your natural armor is just as good or better.
So yeah, it's like, you don't have to cast it. You don't even have to put it in your spell book. Save the money, save the time. This spell is not for you.
Exactly. And you also have hungry jaws.
So if someone happens to get up and close, get in your personal business, you can still be able to cast your spells. But as a bonus action, you get to take a bite and get some temporary hit points at the same time.
Ching. Not a bad deal. Also, you get hold breath. And, this conjures, in my imagination, is, this lizard folk in the water casting their spell, and just as they release it, rising out of the water's like dripping off their body, and then boom, they unleash some kind of maybe a stinking cloud or something issues forth from them. And before it was just the calm water, or maybe you mistake them for, a crocodile in the water.
So this gets to be cool. I know a lot of venturing parties, they wind up setting the ambush. No one is going to expect
the lizard man.
The lizard folk in the water is going to stand up and cast magic missile right in your face. So I think that is a pretty cool ambush factor. I'm certain that there's a number of times that having the ability to hold your breath for 15 minutes is going to be useful. And let's face it, I'm certain a creative player is going to find ways to insert that scene in there. Like, yeah, this dude just smells. I'm just not going to smell it anymore.
I'm not sure where the ability works that way. But we've set down the kind of the visuals, kind of the theme for the character. Now we'll dive back into the crunch. So he's a wizard. He's he's using conjuration. He's a lizard folk. We need a background. We did say he's a scholar.
Well, so are we looking at, do we want to go like this is a sage, or do we want to he's a scholar because he's a wizard and we're going to give him that full tribal treatment?
I think he's kind of grimy and grungy, and even his own people really don't want to talk to him that much.
All right, so let's go with the tribal treatment then. If you look at Uthgardt tribe member or Outlander, they're kind of the same thing. So you could just kind of say, well, he's an Outlander, and as opposed to one of the options that's there, you just put him in as the witch doctor.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, we even kicked around, do we make a new background? Do we do a variant? We're like, not really. I think we get everything we need out of this one. So, he's a witch doctor, but we're just going to use the Outlander background.
All right, so next comes stat placement. And I think there's some moments of, not contention, but disagreement as to where stats should go on this guy. Because you're going to get a +2 to Constitution, you're going to get a +1 to Wisdom. And we need intelligence. So, where do we put what?
Well, I guess we were talking. I think we kind of see this guy as being, he's a little bit off kilter, but he's still kind of like a little bit of an intellectual amongst his people, his peers.
So, since we're not getting a bump in any way, shape, or form to intelligence, I would say we put our 14 there, and that gives us a solid bit there. Since we get a +2 to Constitution, we put our 12 there. That gives us a 14 Con, 14 Intelligence. Already, we're off to a good start.
So we have Strength, we have Dex, we have Wisdom, we have Charisma.
Now, we get a +1 to Wisdom, so it's going to be mechanically beneficial to put an odd stat there. Is this a really wise wizard? And we put a 15 there and we give him a 16? Or do we put the 13 there and give him 3 14s and a 15?
I think we're gonna want to put the 13 there, get that 14, and actually we should switch it and put that 15 in Intelligence, knowing later on we can always increase it.
Okay.
And then we have that 12 in Constitution, give us a 14 nice bump, and we're gonna end up with a 12 Dex. Strength and Charisma, that is where the contention is.
That's where it is. I see this guy as, he's the witch doctor. He might be creepy, but he's powerful. And it's that fear, that creepy factor that works for him. And you're saying it works against him. So I would dump Strength and put the better stat in Charisma. And you're saying dump Charisma and put the better stat in Strength.
Yeah, I think either one of them works. One of them is, you're just kind of average for your Charisma, and for your Strength you're sickly, and the other one is you put people off, they don't want to be around you, but you're average for Strength. I don't know, man, carrying around all those bones is gonna jack your Strength at least to average. But either one of them would actually work, so it's just a matter of preference.
Absolutely. So there you go. There's our lizard wizard, our scaly scholar. What do you guys think? Would you be hyped to play this kind of character in your game? Are you? Down in the comments below, why don't you let us know your stories. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can go check us out at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.